Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what I can only describe as a massive paradigm shift happening right now in the world of digital currencies. If you've been following the digital asset space at all, you already know that stablecoins have basically become the absolute backbone of crypto trading and borderless payments. But the foundation of that entire system, it's currently undergoing a major structural earthquake, and it all centers around one fundamental question of economics. Just look at this number. $160 billion, that is the staggering global market cap of stablecoins right now. I mean, we're talking about real cash sitting in reserves backing digital tokens. But here is the hook, and the real question driving the shift we're unpacking today. Who actually profits from all those billions just sitting there in those reserves? I mean, when interest rates are high, billions of dollars in yield are being generated. So where exactly does it go? To figure that out, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. First, we'll cover the stablecoin monopoly problem. Then, enter the global dollar. Third, flipping the revenue model. Fourth, we'll look under the hood at the reserves. 5, regulation and safety metrics. And finally, earning with USDG. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the stablecoin monopoly problem and who actually profits. So, for years, the stablecoin market has basically been dominated by a few massive players, right? And honestly, their business model has been incredibly lucrative. When users or enterprises buy stablecoins, they deposit fiat currency. The stablecoin issuers take that fiat, put it into yield-bearing assets like US treasuries, and then, well, they keep the vast majority of the revenue generated. Now, traditional banking models keeping the lion's share of the yield might not surprise anyone, but in a decentralized ecosystem, it creates a really unique dynamic. You see, the exchanges, the wallets, the payment platforms, they're doing the hard work of driving stablecoin adoption and providing liquidity. But because these traditional issuers retain the vast majority of the reserve yield, those distribution platforms don't really get to share in the underlying economics. Which brings us to Section 2, enter the global dollar, a collaborative network. What you're seeing here is the visual identity for the global dollar, or USDG. But trust me, it is way more than just another token. Launched in late 2024, USDG is actually the centerpiece of a massive collaborative consortium called the Global Dollar Network. And it was built specifically to challenge those closed-loop monopolies of the past. By definition, USDG is a single currency stablecoin pegged one-to-one to the US dollar. But honestly, it's the second half of that definition that really matters. It's designed to share reserve economics with its network partners. The grand vision here is to act as a community-owned, institutional-grade asset. So instead of a single corporation capturing literally all the value, the entire network actually participates in the ecosystem's growth. And when we say community, we are talking about heavy-hitting institutional players. Just look at these founding consortium partners. You've got Kraken and Bullish providing massive exchange liquidity. You have Robinhood bridging the gap to millions of everyday retail users. Then you've got Galaxy Digital and Anchorage Digital bringing top-tier institutional treasury management and custody to the table, plus Nuvei handling the payment side. This diverse network perfectly bridges retail finance and institutional investment, really ensuring the token is supported across the entire spectrum of the financial industry. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is Section 3, flipping the revenue model and sharing the wealth. There is a super stark contrast here in the fundamental economic models. With market leaders like USDC or USDT, the issuer retains the vast majority of that reserve yield, as we talked about. But with USDG, the model is completely flipped. The global dollar network distributes up to 100% of the returns generated by the reserve assets right back to the network distribution partners. Basically, this means if an exchange holds your USDG or a payment processor settles in USDG, they're actually financially rewarded for driving that adoption. It's a completely different incentive structure where adoption rewards the whole network, not just the issuer. All right, moving on to Section 4, under the hood, looking at the reserves and that one-to-one backing. To secure a circulating supply that has rapidly grown to over $2.75 billion, Pharaoh's Watch data shows us exactly how this one-to-one backing is structured. We're looking at 50% in short-duration U.S. government securities, 35% in cash deposits, and 15% in cash equivalents. And importantly, these aren't just sitting around in some random account. These reserves are fully segregated, bankruptcy remote, and held at top-tier custodial banks like DBS, which is Southeast Asia's largest bank, by the way, and Standard Chartered. So it's an incredibly conservative, highly liquid reserve profile. Which leads us nicely into Section 5, regulation and safety metrics, and building institutional trust. So, the crucial point here is USDG's really unique dual jurisdiction strategy. The primary technical issuer of USDG is Paxos, but they've strategically structured this to have top-tier regulatory oversight across multiple continents. Over in Asia, it's issued by Paxos Digital Singapore under the strict supervision of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, or MAS. Meanwhile, in the European Union, it's issued by Paxos Issuance Europe under the supervision of FinFasa, making it fully compliant with the new MiCA regulations. This gives USDG a rock-solid compliance foundation that, frankly, many of its competitors simply lack. Translating that regulatory structure into actual risk metrics, Ferris Watch currently gives USDG an overall safety grade of B, or 72 out of 100. But definitely look at that resilience score, an A+, or 90 out of 100. That incredibly high resilience is driven entirely by that very low-risk reserve composition and top-tier custody we just looked at. Now, to remain perfectly impartial here, Ferris does note that the token still faces some centralization risks, since it is issuer-minted and managed by Paxos infrastructure. Plus, it currently has a lower grade in decentralization simply because of a developing DeFi footprint compared to older incumbents. Basically, it's a newer asset, so it's still building out its on-chain depth. Speaking of its on-chain footprint, while USDG definitely relies heavily on Ethereum as its primary base, its multi-chain expansion is absolutely crucial for lower-cost payments and interoperability. It's currently supported natively on Ethereum, Solana, Inc., and XLayer. Plus, through a really cool partnership with Layer 0, they've launched USDG 0. That's an omni-chain standard that allows the token to move seamlessly across other chains without relying on traditional, often vulnerable, bridge protocols. Okay, Section 6, Earning with USDG, and what's in it for the user. So how does this affect you? Well, because the global dollar network passes the reserve yield down to the distribution platforms, those platforms can actually pass it down to you. For example, Kraken allows eligible users to earn up to 4.25% APY simply for holding USDG in their account if they're Kraken Plus subscribers. And even non-subscribers can still earn up to 2%. That is a direct, tangible benefit of this flipped economic model. You are literally earning yield just for holding a stable asset. And the process is designed to be incredibly low friction. On the Kraken app, you simply tap your profile picture, select Earn settings, navigate to Auto Earn, and just toggle stablecoin rewards to on. The best part? Your stablecoins remain fully accessible. There are no lockup periods whatsoever. You can trade, withdraw, or move your USDG at any time, all while the rewards just accrue automatically in the background. And this brilliantly illustrates the broader goal here. Charles Cascarilla, the CEO of Paxos, stated that stablecoins are re-platforming the financial system. This isn't just about creating yet another digital dollar, right? It's a deliberate shift away from centralized corporate tokens that hoard all the yield, moving toward a collaborative network where the economics are shared with the platforms and ultimately the users who actually give the network its value in the first place. Which leaves us with the ultimate question as we watch this $160 billion market evolve. Are consortium-owned, yield-sharing stablecoins like USDG the true future of digital cash? Will the traditional monopolies adapt, or will networks that share the wealth ultimately win out? It's a fascinating market battle for sure, and one we will continue to watch very closely. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.